Hello. How you doing, guys? This is Tony Williams from Veterans Council Veterans, CEO of Veterans Council Veterans. As you guys are aware, Veterans Council Veterans is helping to try to give women veterans in Florida a voice. Because one thing I have noticed is that I don't hear them much outside of the women's circle. And to do that, we decided to have a town hall and invite all the women veterans from Florida. And there's more than not just women veterans in Florida to sit there and have a voice. And we always believe in the ground up versus the top down. We want to hear what they have to say. And then from there, we can then go forward to that. But in lead off, I wanted to sit there until the town hall is on the 30th of September from 10 to 12 Eastern time. But to do that, what I want to do is starting every Monday and Wednesday, I'm going to have a guest, women veterans guests, to talk about what they do, what they've accomplished, and the importance of having this town hall. Well, I'll tell you what, we have the guests we have coming up now. I'm very excited to announce because one of them they're both combat veterans. Okay, so I wanted to make sure that was important, at least that to break that stereotype that the only ones who are out there doing the combat are the men, and the women who are out there are in like support role or whatever, and that's not true. As we just saw in the last Afghanistan operations, we had two women sergeants that actually died. So again, that's what we're here. So what I want to first of all point out is every Monday and Wednesday, 12 o'clock, you will see and hear from a woman veteran, and you'll learn what it really takes to sit there and navigate, not just in the military world, but the civilian world when it comes as a woman veteran. So, as you see right here. So now I want to introduce to you our guest. Our guest is first is Amy Otzel. Amy Otzel, I've known Amy for several years. She is an Army veteran, combat veteran. She did like some of us. She converted over to a counseling field, which is kind of interesting, a counseling field profession, because sometimes what we do in the military is not what we end up doing when we finally decide we want to control our own destiny. And that's what Amy did. She kind of what I call she rebranded herself. And Amy has so much experience. Like, I'm really excited. She finally got a chance to talk, because she has a lot to talk about, and I'm really excited to have her on. And then finally, Maxine, you guys have seen Maxine on several of my shows already. I mean, Maxine is, besides being a Air Force and then Army, enlisted, then commissioned, as well as a spouse of a veteran. She's an entrepreneur. And not just a lot of things Maxine is, and she's really one of her greatest passions is women veterans. And so, if you guys mentioned earlier, I think a couple weeks ago we actually had a chance to meet Councilman Luis Vieta to try to articulate what women veterans concerns are. And so we really have, and she's also a combat veteran. So I'm very proud to have our first guest being combat veterans, and we have the mental health side. So we'll make sure that Amy sometimes will sit there and help us out when we get, if we get into the counseling side. You say, okay, Tony, you can't say that, or you really mean this, and then Maxine can sit there and then just keep it real. So anyway, I want to introduce you guys, and let's first of all find out who you are. Okay, we'll start with Amy. Amy, tell us who you are, and then tell us what you do.
Okay, so well, I'm very glad to have a first appearance and an opportunity to share my voice on this broadcast. Thank you, Tony. And so again, my name is Amy Otzel. I am a retired U.S. Army behavioral health sergeant. I served in both the Connecticut Army National Guard and on active duty in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom from 2003 till 2005 for OIF2. I was medically retired from the Army after 13 years. During that time, I also earned and achieved master's degrees in psychology, professional mental health counseling, and integrative health and healing. I am an LPC, a licensed professional counselor in the state of Connecticut, which I'm originally from. I'm now living in southeastern coastal Georgia, right on the border of Florida, with pursuit of my LPC here in Georgia. But I'm also a licensed mental health counselor in the state of Florida now as well. Um, I've spent several years working with the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs as a readjustment counseling therapist. I served as a Connecticut State Military Support Program clinician, and I've also had private practice prior to my relocation to Georgia while in Connecticut, continuing the mission so proudly and honorably in service to very specifically the wellness, health, and mental health needs of our military veterans and their family members. And I am also a level 3 advanced breath, body, mind teacher for survivors of trauma and a certified holistic stress management teacher, and also an advocate speaking professional development education to assist and support healthcare professionals, mental health professionals in better understanding the cultural impacts of military service and how to enhance their conceptualizations and de-pathologize and destigmatize transition stressors and traumatic stressors in our military veteran family population. I've served as an advocate on the VA Mental Health Community Advisory Board, and also am a lecturer with the Yale University Department of Psychiatry. I am happily married for 13 years, and I have 2 beautiful kids, Nicholas, who is 11, and Valerie, who is 5. And though I originate from the state of Connecticut, Georgia has my heart. I absolutely love it here and have been highly motivated to build a supportive and advocacy platform here as I get settled.
Wow, that's a lot. And you did each in that who, because I heard a lot of the what, but I was like the who, like I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm an entrepreneur. So that's sometimes we learn that from the military. Right? We don't, somebody asks you yourself, you don't really bring your family in too much. You just sit and talk about what I do. And not your family. So I just want to make sure you brought that in, and we'll appreciate that. And definitely, Maxine definitely has all that going on. So, Maxine, please introduce yourself real quick and who you are and then what you do.
Okay, hello everyone. I am originally from Jamaica. I came here as a teenager to South Florida, joined the Air Force after I graduated from high school, and then spent 11 years in the Air Force. Got me a husband in the Air Force as well. And then we transferred over to the Army to become Army officers. I am an Afghanistan vet, combat veteran. I was a financial management officer when I was in the Army and did a total of 22 years in both services, or total in for both services, and retired in 2017. Stayed a military family until 2021 this year when my husband retired after 25 years of service. So together we have been at this career for 25 years as a family, and it's just been a journey. We have a 12-year-old daughter, and we are now settled in Tampa Bay. I've always done advocacy while I was on active duty, but I made it a priority once I retired, especially for women of color, women of the military, and military families, because I have experienced all as a dual military person, as a woman of color, and as a woman who served. Now that I'm in Tampa, um, embedding myself in the community, as Tony mentioned earlier, that we are advocating for women veterans. I have a Florida Women Veterans Awards group with over 700 women veterans in there from Florida. And the goal for that group is to end up creating an award show highlighting women who served and who are from Florida, who are trailblazers, pushing courageously whatever it is that their career after the military is, and then lifting others while they rise through community service. And so, Amy, you would be a great representation of that, but you are from a different state. But that's something that you can probably do in your state, you know. But we want to start in the state of Florida and highlight that. I'm a speaker as well on the platform of military families, dual military service members. I've been asked to speak on several occasions on behalf of married couples and dual military couples. So one of the organizations that I am currently in is the Tampa Bay Defense Alliance, and we advocate for military families and personnel that are active duty as well in the Tampa Bay area. I am a homeschool mom, so one of the things I've committed to is spending more time with my daughter, since my husband and I have separated so many times away from our child. And so now that the pandemic has happened, homeschooling has been a blessing for us to be able to spend some time with our daughter. Otherwise, I'm here to advocate for our women. And Tony, I appreciate you always including me in these opportunities to be a voice for women who serve. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I expected Maxine to be a big voice once you finish this town hall. Some people always sort of say, you know, why is a man doing this? Why is a man doing this? You know, and I always say to them, you know, sometimes we need all of us. You just can't focus on one and say no, because we're all involved, we're all part of it. And it's important that men out there, women out, everybody out there, women veterans still serve. You're still veterans, and I'm part of that. So that's why. So I look at this thing as I'm like the guy you have starts the lawnmower, right? And then it's up to you ladies to cut the grass. So that's why I look at Veterans Council Veterans as we help, and then people like you, Maxine and Amy, and all the other ones that'll be part of this. Then take it and let's start making something happen. But please be inclusive, not exclusive. So I want to ask you, one reason I got you guys together, and I say guys, I'm used to saying guys.
It's fine.
Ladies together is the importance. What do you think? You know, we're having a town hall. We're having a town hall. It's the Florida Women Veterans Town Hall. It says Florida because I want to sit there and put a focus on for the people who are there to support us, the representatives, and know that we're there. But it's really for anybody, and there are women and men out there who can help us from things they've learned, and we need that as well. So it may not be from Florida, maybe from Georgia, whatever, that can come and say, hey, try this, or I know this person here. So even though it's Florida, it's still for anybody. So what do you think the importance of this town hall, having this town hall, means to you? And since Maxine just finished, we'll talk to you, Amy. What is the importance of this town hall? And what do you expect from it?
Well, the first thing that I think of when you ask what is the importance of this town hall is just inherently in the value of the importance, is that having it because of its importance shows that it's important. So I think just the feature of that really is pronounced, that these are issues and topics that we can and should and want to be talking about. So I think importance is just inherent to hosting it in general, and that really just shows that there's something significant in our population of female veterans that needs to be heard. And on that, I think the importance too is that you are taking a commonly invisible group and giving them a platform to be visible. And in that way, having the visibility filter out into the community and into the greater area of concern, like you said, make sure that representatives of Florida know that we're having this and see this. You're giving an opportunity for both men and women to come together and address what kinds of content and aspects of a woman's service needs to be recognized and why, and areas that we can safely address facets of discouragement or need for improvement. from certain drawbacks or inequities or challenges, that we can come together and create a shared experience of, again, visibility, but to empower change in how people think by being aware of issues and feelings and how they affect people and how we can improve.
Thanks, and I appreciate that. And I want to make that I capture all those expectations for this town. And I'll tell you one thing about this. It's a long game. Okay, this is not something that's going to change people's mind with one thing. It's a long game. We got to understand that. We got to be able to sustain the long game, or just peter out again. And you, Maxine, now, and the thing about Maxine is that, again, just a couple weeks ago, we went and saw Luis Vera from the Tampa. So what do you think the importance of having this town hall, and then what are your expectations, Maxine?
I mean, Amy hit it on the nail. Visibility is important, because when majority hear of the military, or they think of the military, they're thinking faces of men, not women. So us being out there is important. The second thing is really bringing up issues that are affecting women, women veterans, period, because we have a lot of resources for the men, and really the women popularity after service have been ignored, like homelessness. There are a lot of veteran homes, and they are all for men. And that's one of the biggest issues that has been constant. And as Florida is the second largest popularity for population for military, right? And so we need to have women veterans be heard and be looked out for, because there's so many things, so many issues besides the homelessness, but that is number one. I asked the group, hey, what do you guys have? What kind of problems are you guys having? What kind of challenges are you guys noticing that you'd like for us to bring up to, Representative Vera last couple of weeks ago that we did? And educational resources, entrepreneurship opportunities, because they're noticing that majority of that stuff has been provided, and the men are the ones who are really targeted, not the women. But women are creating businesses and are very successful at it across the board, across the nation. So we want to make sure that entrepreneurship opportunities are available to us here in the state of Florida as well. But bringing up the women, the homeless women, we have these women who have their children. So it's not just for the women, it's for the kids. And we don't have homes for them. So that is the number one thing I would love to highlight at the town hall for women in our community, women veterans in our community.
Yeah, and in fact, go ahead.
One more thing. Keep that thought. Another thing that I have personally noticed, and I know it's a big thing across the board in the United States, but representation matters, not just because we are females, but we have a lot of activities, a lot of panels, and I don't see women of color. So I want to be a voice for us as well, because we serve and we have a voice and we matter. So having women represent the popularity group is important. But guess what? We need women of different ethnicities and women of color to be seen, because people need to know that we serve as well.
Yeah, one of the things that I want to, for clarification, so when you were saying the veteran population, yeah, Florida's number 3 when it comes to overall veterans population, but number 2 for women. They're the number 2 in the country for women veterans, and that's why they need to start saying what they're doing for us. And I learned that one of my meetings I had with Dee. Dee. I had a meeting with her council meeting Wednesday, and the governor has stood up a women veterans task force. So maybe he gets the message. I don't know. We'll soon see, because there's checking the block and there's substance. So we will definitely go ahead, Amy.
Yeah, Tony, if I may, I want to offer a bit of my lived experience coming from Connecticut down to Georgia, but having much of my stomping grounds now in Florida. Connecticut, of course, is a smaller state, but it's highly populated in there. I routinely struggled, even while still in uniform, to feel recognized, understood, and honored as a woman soldier and a woman veteran. Some of my experiences up there, one to even include having arrived at a Veterans Day ceremony with my baby in tote at my son's school, and I was in civilian clothes, and I went to sit in the reserved veterans section. And another woman veteran herself asked me not to sit there because it was reserved for veterans. That was something that regrettably I will always remember, and it stung, it hurt. And I reverently accosted her and said, I just couldn't believe that it was from you, that if anyone I would suspect to give it a second thought might have been another woman. And I felt so vulnerable. I felt so invisible. And then I thought, my gosh, what if I did sit here? Well, I did end up sitting there. But what about the rest of the people that were sitting in this group? Were they all looking at me and thinking I was in the wrong place? And how uncomfortable I felt. And during a ceremony of recognition for my service, I felt completely invisible, if not out of place. And that type of a thing is so painful. It's already painful to be so distant from your identity in the service and try to sort through the complexity of being a woman, a female, and being a soldier and being in the mix of that, but then being able to bolster that through the years. And then this next transition into the veteran culture where you really don't look the same as most. And when I have efforted while living up there to engage with other females, I had to leave my area to go and participate in different woman veteran events. And they were kind of just coming off the ground, which was great to be a part of. But then I would go back to where I lived and didn't have, and then I was hidden again. And in trying to be a mom and a veteran among other moms in my community, I remember taking my son on a play date, and the mother of the child we were at the play date with, for probably about a good 40 minutes, was speaking to me about dogs. Just dogs and dogs and dogs. And I don't have any dogs. I did in the past. But she was talking about dogs. And finally, she said to me, I guess in your line of work, you just don't want to talk about pets anymore. And I said, I'm so sorry, but I just don't know what you're referring to. I'm lost. And she said, the other mothers told me you were a veterinarian.
Oh.
That you were a vet. And so I was, again, feeling, I didn't know how to handle it. And I felt so out of sorts. But coming down here, there has been, and I've been here for just over a year, which during a pandemic is not a good amount of time to be able to really connect and engage, because so many people are sheltering and whatnot. But coming down here, I have seen an incredible amount of female veteran advocacy, awareness, programs like what you're doing, Tony, over and over and over again. Hope for Veterans out of Florida, dealing with females and supporting all of their different kinds of needs, having different Facebook and social media groups that are specifically like Georgia Military Women Veterans Group on Facebook with hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of women, and going to the VA in Florida and sitting in a women's clinic with other women and having the room filled and seeing women in all the different clinics.
Right.
And that's not something that I experienced where I came from. And so as someone who has this, I just really want to share, it is healing to me. It makes me feel again like I matter and my sacrifices are important and recognized, and that there are so many others who want to be there to take care of each other and support each other. So that has been a huge part of my welcome here. And I can tell you that it has moved mountains for me in terms of my empowerment and my inspiration in a way I never felt before from where I came from. So these things do matter.
So yeah, and go ahead, Maxine. I'm sure you have some shared experiences. Can you please, expound on your? I know we got like what, another 20 minutes. You're on mute.
I am the veteran. Okay. My husband and I, we get invited to events, and we'll dress up nicely, and they'll see us and they'll like, oh, they'll talk to him and say, how long did you serve? Which branch did you serve in and all that? And then they'll just walk past us after that. And my husband has now taken it into his own hands and introduced me as she also served. And she did 22 years in not just one branch, but two different branches of service. So I absolutely understand what you're talking about, Amy. And it's something that we just have to keep reminding them. As you said, visibility. We just have to keep showing up, showing our faces, and speak on our behalf. I love the fact that Tony mentioned the Women Veterans Task Force for our state. I am going to make a phone call today and see how I can be a part of that, because having the Florida Women Veterans group, I think it's important to have a voice from there to be on that panel or that council. So we just have to keep making that noise.
D is on that council.
Okay, so I'll touch base with her. But yeah, we just have to keep making the noise, being the loudest person in the room by being there, by showing our faces and being there, being that woman there.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I want, we just had that whatever, that craziness over there in Afghanistan, and I want to show this real quick to the audience here, and that you don't hear much about, and we had two Marine sergeants that died in that operation, and I just want to get some of you guys' thoughts on. I know Amy, you was in an Iraq side of the house, and Maxine, you was in Afghanistan house, but it's still a combat environment, and again, it's almost invisible. I mean, it just seems like, I guess even when you see the picture, there's so many of them. The women, you can't see the women, right? That's it's almost like I can't think of the word, but a visual comparison of why you seem invisible. You got like 13 people and two women, and they're like all scattered. You don't see them. So what was your thoughts about, and that, and hopefully I don't prick anything about that whole thing, being you're both combat veterans. And go ahead, we'll start you, Maxine. Go ahead.
Okay.
Afghanistan.
Yeah, I see it, and it always hits me. But what I do immediately after is put up a post and make sure folks see that was a woman, and that she was one of the victims, that passed away or was murdered. So it's just us taking that extra step, because in the uniform with our hair back, we may look like the guys, right? So it's just highlighting that this was a woman who was in the combat zone and who sacrificed her life for the country as well. And I just put that on Instagram and Facebook and put it in my story every week until, and I get a lot of messages, especially from women who are not military affiliated, but then they start to thank us for our service as well. All the women who served and all the women who sacrificed. So it's just putting I love the word visibility, and I'm going to just take it from you, Amy. It's just being visible and really highlighting these women who sacrifice by putting it out there on social media, because right now that's like the biggest way to get the word out there. And I am, Tony, I'm on there, big influencer on social media. So that's my way of letting folks know.
And Amy, especially coming from just as a woman, as a veteran, and as a counselor, what was going through your mind when you saw this?
Well, I think really the part of me that is ignited by that is the soldier part of me that just recalls very viscerally that the enemy doesn't discriminate. That when I served in Iraq, women were in U.S. military women were in particular targets. We used to have head counts at night, and the head counts weren't just to count the bodies to make sure we were there. They were literally to check our heads. The situation with the beheadings and female soldiers being particularly targeted was huge. I took many phone calls of female soldiers and Marines and airmen and sailors that were killed in action, that were wounded in action. And so to me, I don't have any difficulty realizing that that is something that will happen. Men and women service members get hurt and get killed. And so it is commonly thought that in some way, if we are in uniform, serving overseas or in a war zone, we are somehow protected and not involved in those types of things. That's just not real. And for me, it just, male or female, it hurts just as bad when lives are lost. But certainly the awareness around the operational impacts of women's service needs to be better understood. And regrettably, much of that comes from when we see the loss of life and the impact of that. People will think. So
and you say something I think is interesting too, that when you in our society, so we have 13 service members who died. But if you say that the two women, then somebody will say, they're all lives. They don't want you to say, hey, those two women died. Well, so did men too. Why is that important? And those are the challenges that we experience when we try to sit there and say, well, we're saying it because we want to reinforce to you that women veterans are out there in combat. And so to have you, and I also, since you both have children, and I was me and Amy just talking about it, how when women are on, we always talk about the families. When men are on, we never talk about the families, and they don't have to worry about that. But did you, Maxine, with your daughter, did you have to explain anything when she saw all this going on? Did you have to sit there and did she have any questions? And same for you, Amy. So, Maxine, did your daughter say anything during this whole thing?
Yes, she did, and the first thing that she said to me was she's happy that I'm no longer in. So she didn't have to fear me being one of the names and one of the faces on the TV screen. It was an emotional moment with me and her because when last year when the president was saying, hey, whoever retired want to come back on active duty, I actually raised my hand to come back on active duty. I don't know if you know that, Tony, but because I wasn't in the medical field, I was turned down. But yeah, I was ready to come back and serve and be, be a leader. Yeah, because soldiers need leaders like myself and that I know. And so I felt like it was my duty to say yes. And I was ready. I was ready to go back. So although my family, and I've actually asked their support before I volunteered and sent that email, but I'm happy that my daughter felt that way, and because of that, I'm happy I was turned down, so I didn't have to do it. Yeah, but it's a conversation that we have, and I love to bring my husband into it because he's one of the men that will talk about family because he always put us first, even with his superiors saying, "Hey, I need you to come in at XYZ time," because as a 42 Alpha officer, he had to be called every time there was a suicide or, reporting casualties and all that stuff. That was him. And one year we were at the Thanksgiving table and he got a phone call and he had to get up and leave from dinner to go into work. So family has always been something that he brought up because we suffer we have to sacrifice along with him while he was doing his thing. So it's amazing that you mentioned that, but it just brought me back or triggered that moment because I know he was one of them that always brought up wife and daughter. Yeah, so go ahead, Amy.
And your children, what did you had when they saw all this going on, this concept? Did you have to say something to them? Did they, what did you experience?
So my 5-year-old daughter is a bit too young, and we don't really expose her to the news in that way. My son, he has at 11 listened to a great deal of what I advocate about. And I think that in particular to what happened in Afghanistan, how we handled that was recognizing the complexity of thoughts and feelings that the veteran population is having right now. He knows that I lost several friends who were comrades who I had previously served in Iraq with in Afghanistan. Whether it was folks who were killed in action or folks who had completed suicide following their return. So I think he recognized that there's a lot of trauma happening in the world right now, which he's been exposed to for well over several years now because we have difficult life circumstances across the world and in our own country. So I think more of what we addressed was going back to the global war on terror and why mommy served. And my brother asked me a wonderful question. He said, "Amy, how is your military family dealing with this?" And I thought that was so kind of him. And I think that's what my son was thinking too, was that this must really be affecting more than just the people involved, whether they served or not, seeing these difficult things happen. So that's really how we dealt with that.
Okay, we're coming up on almost a quarter to time. You ladies are so busy, and I want to make sure that I honor your time that you're given. And so basically, I just want to give you a chance. I know we mentioned earlier about what you're doing and stuff. Give you another chance to sit there and then say that again. If you have any kind of numbers or website, please include that as well because it's important. So make sure if you haven't registered, everybody who's looking, make sure you register and share that it's time for women veterans not just to be heard, but to be listened to. And that's the difference, okay? To be heard and listened to. So any final thoughts? I'll start with you, Maxine. Any final thoughts as we close this interview?
Since we just got off family, some thoughts happened while Amy was speaking, and I just remember my daughter being away from both family members, both parents from age 11 months because of deployments, and so over the years she's hardened to it somewhat because of long deployments with both parents. So while we're here talking about this, just keep in mind that the kids that are involved in the process, and make sure we're talking to them and helping them to heal from whatever issues that they had while we were on active duty and what they're going through now, seeing it on television or just hearing it from their friends at school. So just something to think about. As far as what I'm doing, I'm here advocating and still will be here if you guys need me to come on a panel or speak on behalf of women veterans, military families. I am here, or minority women who serve. I'm here. I can be reached at MaxineReyes.com, and from there you'll be able to reach my social media. And thank you so much, Tony, for having me. And I look forward to the town hall with all the women who are going to be speaking and will be listened to.
Cool. Wow. Listen, and you, Amy, and you know what? And this is just so you guys don't hear. I'm going to, November is, I think it's military family. So I'm going to have a broadcast about with that. Women veterans and men veterans talk about their families. So I'll let you know if hopefully you're available. So Amy, any last thoughts and tell us what you've been doing and anything you want to publicize?
So what I've been doing is primarily for the past year since I've been here is settling into my new home and taking care of my kids and supporting them in their school endeavors, and really enjoying that time to support them more than in a more every day, every moment kind of way. So I'm really enjoying that. And I'm taking care of my health and wellness as well. That's a huge importance, so that I can continue to be in helping service to others. And I am, as I mentioned, newly licensed as a mental health counselor in Florida, and just pending my licensing here in Georgia. So waiting for that to go through. So I'm not quite sure if I will evolve another private practice down here, or if I will look to an organization to align with. But most importantly, whichever that way goes, it will continue to be in service to military veterans and their families. And mostly I have been doing video professional development trainings pertinent to military veteran and family populations with mental health providers and recovery and peer support specialists, and really helping people recognize the experiential impact of moving through any kind, regardless of military history, any kind of military cultural experience, that people can improve and enhance their already good skill sets to better work with this population, connect and engage in a more safe way, trusting way with this population. So I've been doing a lot of that. And since I am in transition from my business up north, having shut that down and starting down here, I can be reached at amy.otzel at hotmail.com. My business address isn't up right now.
Thank you. I really see a collaboration going on here, because so in 2022, we already started planning what we're going to do for 2022. We should all get together and have a 1 or 2 day whatever you call it, conference for, and that will involve workshops for families. And I think both of you guys would be great for that. It just came to my mind. So I'm already starting to plan. We're gonna have our meeting pretty soon in November to see what we're gonna do for 2022. And maybe that's one of the things we can bring you guys together, collaborate. And
absolutely. I was thinking of reaching out to Amy. So
yeah, that's right. So anyway, I appreciate you ladies being here, taking time out. I know you guys got something to do in another 10 minutes. And don't forget about the town hall on the 30th of September, between the hours of 10 to 12 Eastern time. And already, I'm telling you, it's packing up. There's a lot of very diverse people who registered, not just women, but there are men as well in high positions. So anyway, thank you ladies for being on here. Maxine Reyes, combat veteran, and Amy Otzel, combat veteran.
Thank you.
So that was one episode. I hope you guys and ladies learned a lot about women combat veterans who are, again, they're just not, the 2021 is not the same thing as 1990 or 1980. These women are out there, they're dying, they're sacrificing in the front line, they're all part of it. And I want to make sure that you got that on this last interview. The next one we have again will be Wednesday, and it will be Dr. Julian Dixon, and she's from Afghanistan as well. So until then, this is Tony Williams for Afghanistan Veterans. Please don't forget to register and share. Register and share. This event is going to be on Zoom, and tickets are going real fast. We got maybe 15 more tickets left, and before it's sold out. So just want to make sure you know that. So this is Tony Williams from Veterans Council and Veterans. See you there.